I'm 18 years old, and it's my first day in prison. I'm standing in line. There's like 50 men in the line with me, and we're all going through our intake process at Greater Forest State Prison in Pennsylvania. We're instructed to take our clothes off and go through a shower. On the other side of the shower is a correctional officer. And the correctional officer hands every one of us a paper, and on top of the paper has a number on the top of the paper. I'm, fresh into the jail, so I have a bravado, so I'm not gonna act like I'm the one that's gonna follow the rules, right? So I'm standing there, he hands me a paper. My first thought is to kind of ball the paper up and throw it like, ah. But then I notice in front of me, there's an older gentleman, an older inmate that is saying something to, and he's the older gentleman is assisting in the intake process, and he's instructing the guy, a couple guys in front of me, something about the paper, and I don't know what he's saying. So when I got closer, I kind of stepped back from my bravado and asked him, said, excuse me, well, what's up with the number on the paper? And he says, you got to remember it. And I said, why? And he whispered to me, he says, from now on, that's your name. I grew up typical. My upbringing was typical to me. It's typical to poor communities throughout the U.S. Every male in my family on both sides were incarcerated. There was drugs and guns readily available in my community. I had a single family household, dropped out of school in the 8th grade. At 16, I had a son. And at 17, I was sentenced to 8 to 20 years in prison. When I got to prison, it was weird. I ain't gonna lie, I mean, that's obvious, right? But we all heard of prison before. So we all know what we know. I came in with them same thoughts. There was nothing that could prepare me for it. It was aggressive. People were angry, depressed. It was violent. I seen people commit suicide. I had friends that were stabbed and killed. I myself was stabbed. There was a time in prison that I literally thought that I was never coming home again. There was an opportunity to learn video or get on this video crew that they had in the prison. And I had no ambitions of doing video or film or anything like that. But I had a kind of secret agenda that I would get on the crew just to be able to learn video, to video myself, so I could send a videotape of myself home to my son, so he would learn who I was, just in case I would never get a chance to tell him myself or see him. Over 8 years, after 8 years, I was preparing to go home. If I admit it or not, I trusted the system. I trusted them to feed me, keep me warm, sometimes protect me. I trusted the system. So I trusted that when I went home or was preparing to go home, their programs, they knew what I needed to do to go home and stay home. They know. I don't know. So I'm 25 years old, preparing to go home, and I took every program they had. This is an example of a program that they gave me to prepare to go home.
What's going on here?
What are you doing home?
What do you think you're doing?
You're supposed to be working late. We're not doing anything. We're just hanging out.
I can't believe I ever trusted you. I feel hot all over and my muscles are tight. She's not going to get away with this. She is disrespecting me by doing drugs in my home. I am angry and really surprised.
It's silly, right? It's funny, laugh, it's silly. Especially for somebody like me that just came from an environment like that in prison. This is gonna prepare me to go home. This don't look like nobody I know. But this is my tool to go home. And this is real. But when I went home, this is the environment I went home to. This is what I seen. This was my reality, or where I was going home to. And nothing in prison, no program I took, prepared me for this. Through the whole time of trying to prepare to go home, they make you very aware of the stats. The stats are there's 700,000 people every year in the United States that come home from prison. 700,000 people that come home from prison. And of that 700,000 people that come home, 2/3 of them go back to prison. 525,000 people go back within the first 3 years. Now, I never got a high school diploma. I never had a job before. I was expected to come home, gain employment somehow, and feed myself and my son. With those stats looming, besides the fact that if you're African American in the U.S., 1 out of 3 go to prison anyway. So I have no chance, and I have no chance. I'm trying. And on top of those stats, and on top of seeing these images, and having been given the programming that was totally irrelevant to the position I was in. On top of all that, when I first come home and I walked to a door, I stopped and paused because I didn't even know what to do with the doorknob. There's no doorknobs in prison. There's no doorknobs. The toilets don't look the same. I didn't know about keys, cash, none of that. But yet I'm expected to succeed or make a plan for the future. But what I did have, I had amazing friends and families, mentors that ensured my success. They made it their business that they loved the human in me enough that they refused to see me fail. Still to today. Through those networks, I was able to start to use my skills to actually teach kids. So I started teaching video. Started teaching video all around. I started setting up media labs, media programs. Started making films. I had an unlikely, I was commissioned by the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is the Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice, to make films for them. It was always been my vision to use my skills and my experience to help someone that found themselves in the same situation that I was in. For it was somebody, man or woman, that were in prison for, X amount of years, that's preparing to go home. I can show them through film what home looks like. I can show a lawmaker or a, prosecutor what the home looks like and living conditions look like for the people that they serve. Through my time in prison, and since I've been home, even now today, I see people go back and forth to prison. It's like they go back and forth so regular, it's like a change of address. To me, the way I explain it is if it's like second nature, or if it's nature, like and as natural as the forces of gravity. With support from the Department of Justice, I was able to create a film called Pull of Gravity that focuses on those specific environments and those pulls that pull someone back into that lifestyle. We created this film, Pull of Gravity. We shot it over a year period of time. We followed 3 individuals. I was one of them. We used the film as a tool. We screened it hundreds of times all over the country. From prisons and colleges, federal departments, whatever. From on a Monday, I could be with judges, a conference of judges, 300 some judges. And afterwards, it's always one judge afterwards that I'm in the hallway, boom, so I said, yo, Al, come here. There's a judge. Yo, Al, listen. I've been a judge for 30 years, and I was never told to consider at all the environment people that are coming home to, or reentry as a whole. Or that same week, I would be in a federal prison screening for prison officials, staff, and the population, the inmates. And I would have an inmate, without fail, I would have an inmate stand up every time and say, I thought I was prepared to go home, now I'm scared to go home. Scared to go home. Last August, I was invited to meet with President Barack Obama, to meet and discuss his criminal justice reform initiative. And I remember vividly two rules they gave me. They said, stand up on the time I met him, right? So I'm nervous, right? I'm like all standing there sweaty and nervous. This is big, right? So meeting the president. So I'm standing there and they told me 2 rules. They said, when he comes in, stand up and you greet him as Mr. President. So I'm like, all right, I got this. I got 2 rules, right? I'm cool. I can work with that. So I stood up. I heard his motorcade come in. It was screeching. It was impressive. He gets out the car, and I'm like standing there. And he walks up, and I says, Mr. President. I said, hello, Mr. President. He grabs my hand. He says, Mr. L. Sawyer, wonderful to meet you. Right at that moment, I found myself flashing back to holding that paper in my hand with the number across the top, and the older gentleman telling me to remember the number because now that's my name from now on. But I'm not a number. I have a name. Thank y'all so much.